Imagine this for a moment. The lights slowly dim, the world becomes quiet, and the screen of your life is about to light up again. Not with the same old story, not with the same predictable scenes, but with a brand new movie. A story where your heart finally gets the role it deserves. So I want to ask you something. Women, are you ready for a new movie? Because love is not meant to be a replay of old pain. It's not meant to be a replay of old pain. It's not meant to be a script written by disappointment, fear, or memories that tried to convince you that you're not enough. No, love is meant to feel like the moment when the camera starts rolling and everything suddenly becomes possible. Maybe you've watched a few difficult scenes before. Maybe you've some characters walked into your story and left too soon. Maybe some promises sounded beautiful but faded before the final act. But that doesn't mean the story is over. It just means the next chapter is about to begin. And this time, the story is different. This movie is about a woman who remembers her worth, a woman who stops waiting for someone to write her happiness and instead becomes the author of her own heart, a woman who realizes that love isn't about chasing, it's about recognizing the one who chooses to stay in every scene. So tonight, think of your life like a theater. Your heart is the screen, your dreams are the soundtrack. And somewhere out there, someone is about to walk into the story who sees you not as a moment, but as the whole movie. The question is not whether love still exists. The question is music. Women, are you ready for the next beautiful movie of your life to begin? Sometimes life feels like a long movie that has been playing for years, scene after scene, moment after moment, emotions rising and falling like music in the background of a story that never seems to pause. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between those scenes, a woman sits with her thoughts and wonders if the story will ever change. She remembers the moments that felt beautiful, the ones that felt confusing, and the ones that hurt more than she ever expected. She remembers the promises that sounded like poetry and the silence that followed when those promises that sounded like poetry, and the silence that followed when those promises that sounded like poetry, music. And yet, even after everything, her heart still carries a quiet hope, like a light in a dark theater, waiting for the screen to glow again. Women, are you ready for a new movie? Because the truth is, life never stays in one scene forever. The camera moves, the music changes, and the story continues even when it feels like everything has stopped. There are days when the world feels heavy, when love feels complicated, when memories whisper louder than dreams. But the beautiful thing about life is that every morning is like the beginning of another scene. The sun rises like a spotlight across the sky, and suddenly there is another chance for something new to begin. Maybe your story has already been filled with unexpected twists. Maybe there were people who entered your life like bright characters in the beginning, promising to stay for the whole film, only to disappear before the second act was finished. Maybe you believed in a love that felt strong enough to last forever, only to watch it slowly fade into silence. Those moments can feel like the hardest scenes in the entire story. They leave questions behind, they leave echoes in your heart that take time to understand. But here is something important to remember. A difficult scene does not mean the movie is over. It simply means the story is moving somewhere deeper. And sometimes the most beautiful part of a movie begins right after the moment, when the main character thinks everything is lost. There is something powerful about a woman who continues to believe in love, even after she has seen the fragile side of it. There is something strong about a heart that refuses to close itself completely, even when it has every reason to do so. Because love was never meant to make you smaller. Because love was never meant to make you smaller. Love was meant to remind you of how extraordinary your heart truly is. So imagine this moment like the opening of a brand new film. The lights are dim, the theater is quiet, the world pauses just long enough for a breath. And somewhere in that silence, a new story is waiting. Not a story written by fear, not a story controlled by old memories, but a story created by a woman who understands her own value now. A woman who has learned that her heart deserves something real, something calm, something honest. Because love is not supposed to feel like a storm that never stops. Real love feels more like a quiet evening after the rain, when the air becomes softer and the sky slowly clears. It feels like peace. It feels like someone sitting beside you without needing to say anything, simply because being near you already feels like home. Women often carry the deepest emotions in the world. They notice the small details that others overlook. They remember the tone of voice, the meaning behind a glance, the warmth inside a simple gesture. Their hearts are like libraries of memories, filled with moments that shaped who they are today. And sometimes those memories include heartbreak. But heartbreak is not the end of a story. In many ways, it is the moment when a woman discovers the strength she didn't know she had. It is the moment when she realizes that love should never require her to lose herself. It should never demand silence when her heart wants to speak. A woman who understands her worth begins to see the world differently. She no longer chases people who cannot see her light. She no longer waits for affection that only appears when it is convenient. Instead, she stands quietly in her own truth, knowing that the right kind of love will recognize her without needing to be convinced. That kind of love does not rush into the story. Like a loud explosion, it enters gently, like music playing softly in the background of a peaceful scene. And when it arrives, everything begins to feel different. Suddenly, conversations feel deeper. Silence feels comfortable instead of awkward. Laughter feels effortless, like two hearts discovering that they understand each other in ways words cannot fully explain. That is the kind of love that deserves a place in your story. But before that love can appear, there is a question every woman must ask herself. Are you ready to believe in a new chapter? Not a chapter shaped by the past, but one guided by the wisdom you gained from it. Because the truth is, every experience you lived through has been preparing you for something greater. Every disappointment taught you what you truly deserve. Every goodbye reminded you that the right person will never treat your presence like something temporary. You are not the same woman you were years ago. You have grown. You have learned how powerful your heart can be when it refuses to stop loving life, even after difficult moments. And that is why this new movie matters. This is not the story of a woman waiting to be rescued. This is the story of a woman waiting to be rescued. This is the story of a woman who discovered that she was always strong enough to stand on her own. A woman who understands that love should add beauty to her life, not confusion. Picture the opening scene of this new film. The sun is setting somewhere peaceful. The sky is painted with soft colors. A quiet breeze moves through the air as if the world itself is preparing for something meaningful to happen. In that moment, a woman stands there with calm confidence in her eyes. She no longer carries the weight of every old memory. She carries something else now, understanding. She understands that love should feel like respect, like kindness, someone choosing her not only in easy moments, but also in difficult ones. And somewhere else in the world, another heart is moving through its own story. Another person who has learned lessons about love, patience, and sincerity. Two different lives, two different journeys, slowly moving toward a moment where their stories might intersect. That is the beauty of life. You never truly know when the next meaningful scene will begin. It might start with a simple conversation. It might begin with a smile that feels unexpectedly warm. Sometimes the most important moments arrive quietly, without dramatic music or flashing lights. But when they happen, something inside your heart recognizes them. It feels like destiny whispering that the story is changing. Women, the world often tells you many things about love. It tells you to be careful, to protect your heart, to expect disappointment. And while caution can be wise, it should never completely silence your ability to believe in something beautiful. Because love, in its truest form, is still one of the most powerful experiences a human heart can know. It inspires courage. It encourages growth. It reminds people that life is more meaningful when it is shared with someone who genuinely cares. And every woman deserves a love story where she feels valued, respected, and understood. Not a love that makes her question her worth, but one that celebrates it. So imagine again that you are sitting in the theater of your no, and life, the old scenes fade slowly into the background. The music shifts, the screen grows bright with possibility. A new title appears across the beginning of the film. A new story begins. And in this story, the woman at the center finally realizes that she is not just part of someone else's narrative. She is the main character of her own life. Her dreams matter. Her feelings matter. Her feelings matter. Her heart deserves honesty and warmth. It is about authenticity. It is about truthity. It is about two people learning to appreciate each other without pretending to be someone they are not. Because the most meaningful love is never about acting. It is about waking up every day and choosing kindness toward the person standing beside you. It is about looking at someone and seeing not only their beauty, but also their vulnerability, their hopes, their quiet fears, and deciding that they are worth protecting. That kind of love creates moments that feel timeless, moments where laughter echoes through ordinary days, moments where laughter echoes through ordinary days, moments where a simple walk together feels more meaningful than any grand gesture. So tonight, when you think about your life like a movie, remember something important. The past scenes shaped you, but they do not control the future scenes that are still waiting to unfold. Your story is still moving forward. Your heart is still capable of extraordinary things, music, and somewhere beyond the horizon of today's moment, a new chapter is preparing to begin. A chapter filled with honesty, warmth, and connection that feels natural instead of forced. Because every great movie eventually reaches the part where the main character realizes her strength, her beauty, and the quiet power inside her heart. And when that realization happens, everything changes. The story becomes brighter, the path becomes clearer, the possibilities become endless. Women, are you ready for this new movie? A movie where you are not chasing love but welcoming it with calm confidence. A movie where your smile becomes the beginning of something meaningful. A movie where the heart you protected for so long finally finds a place where it can rest without fear. Somewhere out there, another scene is already forming. Another moment is preparing to appear. Another heartbeat is moving closer to the rhythm of your own. And when that moment arrives, it will not feel like coincidence. It will feel like the beginning of something that was quietly meant to happen all along. A new conversation, a new connection, a new feeling that grows slowly, like sunlight spreading across the horizon of a peaceful morning. The kind of feeling that reminds you that love was never supposed to be complicated. It was always meant to be sincere. It was always meant to be sincere. It was always meant to feel like two souls recognizing each other in the middle of a busy world. And when that recognition happens, something beautiful begins to unfold. Keynote 2. A story where your heart is not afraid anymore, where love feels calm instead of confusing, and where the next chapter of your life begins with hope instead of confusing, and where the next chapter of your life begins with hope instead of hesitation. Imagine the screen of your life lighting up again, not with the same old scenes, but with something new, something honest, something that understands the depth of your heart and the quiet strength you carry every single day. Not the kind you have seen before, not the kind where the story repeats the same old scenes, where promises sound beautiful in the beginning, but slowly fade into silence. I am talking about a different kind of story, a story where your heart finally feels understood, where love feels calm instead of confusing, where the moments that once made you doubt yourself are replaced by moments that remind you how valuable you truly are. Imagine this for a second. The theater lights dim, the world becomes quiet. The screen of your life slowly begins to glow again, like the beginning of something meaningful. You be. For a long time, maybe you felt like you were watching the same story play again and again. Different faces, different voices, but somehow the same ending. The same questions, the same silence that followed words that once felt full of promise. Use. Life can feel like that sometimes. A series of scenes that arrive unexpectedly. Some of them beautiful, filled with laughter, warmth, and excitement. Others more difficult, leaving behind memories that take time to understand. Others more difficult, leaving behind memories that take time to understand. But every story, every real story, carries both light and shadow. Without the difficult scenes, the meaningful ones would never feel as powerful. Music, and that is something many women slowly discover as they grow. They begin to understand that the heart is not fragile because it feels deeply. The heart is powerful because it continues to love even after it has experienced its disappointment. There is a quiet strength inside a woman who refuses to let the world turn her kindness into bitterness. That strength is not loud. It doesn't need attention side. It lives in the small decisions she makes every day. The decision to keep believing that something good is still possible. The decision to keep believing that something good is still possible. The decision to wake up and continue moving forward, even when yesterday felt heavy. Because deep inside, every woman carries a story that deserves to be told with honesty and respect. Sometimes the world forgets that. Sometimes the world forgets that. Sometimes people walk into a woman's life like temporary characters in a movie. They bring excitement, promises, dreams that seem real in the moment, but as time passes, those characters fade away, leaving behind unanswered questions and quiet lessons. And those lessons change a woman, not in a way that makes her cold or distant, but in a way that makes her cold or distant, but in a way that makes her wiser. She begins to recognize the difference between attention and genuine care. You begins to see the difference between words that sound beautiful and actions that actually mean something. That awareness is powerful. Then actions that actually mean something. Because once a woman understands her own value, she stops chasing things that cannot truly appreciate her presence. She becomes selective with her energy. She learns that love should not feel like a constant struggle to be seen or heard. Real love feels like recognition. It feels like someone looking at you and understanding the quiet language of your heart without needing endless explanations. That kind of connection is rare, but it exists, and sometimes it appears in the most unexpected moments. Not in dramatic entrances or perfect circumstances, but in small, genuine interactions. A conversation that feels natural, a moment of laughter that arrives without effort, a feeling that something about this person is different, calmer, more sincere than what you experienced before. Those moments can feel like the opening scene of a brand new film, a film where the main character is no longer searching for approval. She already understands who she is. She already knows that her kindness, her loyalty, and her love are not weaknesses. They are gifts, and gifts should never be given to people who cannot recognize their value. Women often carry extraordinary emotional depth. They remember details that others overlook. They notice when someone's voice changes, when a smile hides